I put so much more emphasis on our relationship than I do on this transaction. I know this transaction is a big one, and for most people, buying and selling a home is their biggest financial transaction they do in a lifetime. I get that. I understand the severity of that. That's why I want to put so much of emphasis on the relationship instead of just this transaction. Hello, Shane Willis, Pensacola real estate expert, bringing you today's episode. Why it doesn't make any sense to wait till spring to sell. So I had some let me see if I can talk this morning. I've had some conversations with people saying, hey, look, we want to wait till spring to sell. I've had that conversation probably 4 or 5 times in the last 6 days. Most of the time it makes sense, and it has nothing to do with pricing the home. It has nothing to do with other factors I'm going to talk about here in a minute. It has to do with, hey, I'm getting transferred in June. So we want to put the house on the market somewhere in March. I'm like, okay, well, that may make sense, but we need to talk about it to begin with. Because the one thing I want everybody to understand, I get asked this question this time of year all the time, is now a good time to list, or do we just wait till after the holidays? If you get into spring, and I pulled up some numbers from 18, I didn't have 19's numbers, or I couldn't find 19's numbers, but this is nationally the inventory in 2018. January 2018 was 1.3 million. 1.36. February was 1.4. March was 1.44. April was 1.58. And May was 1.66. So what does that mean? For us in our area, I've always said this, the spring buying season starts in January. And that has something, to me, it has everything to do with income tax refunds. All right. The spring buying season starts in January. And it goes through almost about 4th of July in our area. Okay. But those same buyers are looking right now. There's just no inventory. Have you watched this week's episode of How's the Market, Pensacola? Get over to YouTube, get over to Facebook, watch it. We've got crisis worth of inventory right now. So should you wait knowing that a bunch of other people are waiting too, and that everybody's going to come on the market kind of at the same time? Do you think you're going to maximize your dollar amount by waiting? Or do you think the serious buyers that are out looking during the holidays could get you your maximum dollar amount? I tell the story about a client of mine, and he tells it all the time. He cracks me up to where he called me up going, hey, Shane, we're going to put the house on the market. It was about this time of year. It was right around Veterans Day. He said, we want to put the house on the market. And it takes a week or two to actually get it on the market. Okay, we could get it on the market immediately, and there's some people out there to do that, but I do professional photography. There's some prep work that needs to be done, and I'm not even talking about the little punch list that you may have as the homeowner. I'm just talking about the prep work that needs to be done to get the property ready on the market. So we got it on the market, and we got it on the market the week of Thanksgiving. It was on the market for 4 hours, and I got an agent who called, who had a buyer. And I'm now calling my seller after it's been on the market for 4 hours. And I said, hey, would you be willing to move before Christmas? And he goes, what? He goes, I'll be honest, Shane, I was expecting you to kind of put on the market, maybe get a couple of showings going on. But, I wasn't expecting to move until after the new year. We were not. I said, okay, I can tell him no. He goes, well, now hang on, what are they offering? And we had priced it a little higher just because I knew the competition was there. I said, full price, cash, and they're ready to close. They really want to close in about 2 weeks, but he goes, I can't be moved in 2 weeks. I said, I get it. But that's why they said, will we be able to move out before Christmas and they'll pay cash? That's the type of stories I hear all the time. And he always goes around, as he's referring people to me, he always goes around and goes, listen, if you want to move, call Shane. If you want the house to sell, call Shane. If you're not ready for it to move, if you're not ready to start packing boxes, tell Shane that before he puts it on the market, because he's one of those weird real estate agents that actually sells, real estate. Anyways, this time of year is always a peak time for sellers because you have a lot less inventory, but you still have the demand out there, especially at some of those price points. Go back and watch this week's show. Go back and watch the last couple of weeks' show. That's How's the Market, Pensacola. I go over Escambia and Santa Rosa County. You'll see the crisis that we're facing in Santa Rosa County, and a lot of it's in Escambia too. So it's slightly different, but man, These are some crisis levels. So you can really, as a seller, get top dollar because if you're the only game in town, there's a couple of neighborhoods I work that I'm the only game in town. So when we say, hey, 330 instead of 325, and I get calls going, well, the last one sold, 4 weeks ago for 325. Yeah, I understand. Well, that was 4 weeks ago. And we're the only game in town. It's at 330. So, and I get it. I get it. Now you can't go in there and say, well, the last one sold at 325, so we're going to list at 400. No. And I've had people do that. I've had people call me going, hey, this is what we're listed at with a different agent, but we've listened to your show and we know that you know how to sell stuff. And so we were listed at 325. And I've come in there and said, well, you're about $25,000 too high. And we've got some marketing stuff that we need to do. Well, I'm not interested in talking to you anymore, Shane, because you think we're $25,000 too high. You are. I know your competition. All right. So we can't get crazy with it, but you can push the envelope this time of year. So this is actually a really good time of year. I know you got the Christmas parties and the eggnog and everything else that's going on, but this is a really good time of year. So if you're considering it, call me. All right, we can chat. Even if you do want to push off the spring, because out of those 5 conversations, there were some other variables. It's not just about the transaction of the house. There are other variables. If we have no place to live, okay, that's a problem. If I know I'm going to be moving next summer, which one of my clients is, they said, I know I'm moving next summer because I just accepted a position at University of Central Florida. Fantastic. Very happy for you. But they need to finish out their season here at University of West Florida. Cool. He's a good professor. All right. He's taking a different job down there. I think he's taking a leadership role, and it's fantastic. Okay. But he goes, I don't want to sell, until we get closer to us actually moving. That's a different variable. Okay. So we have to discuss those variables. Some work, and then some. I'll be the first one to tell you, you don't need a list right now if you tell me all the variables, because I'm not about the transaction. I put so much more emphasis on our relationship than I do on this transaction. I know this transaction is a big one, and for most people, buying and selling a home is their biggest financial transaction they do in a lifetime. I get that. I understand the severity of that. That's why I want to put so much of emphasis on the relationship instead of just this transaction. Because I know if I can help you with other areas, this transaction will be just fine. All right. So that was a little harsh there for a second, wasn't it? That's all I got for you today. As always, if you've not subscribed to get the tips, tricks, graphs, infographics, get over to 5minutesinrealestate.com. That's 5minutesinrealestate.com. Also, get over to the Facebook page. I'm doing a lot over there to include some Star Wars stuff. I've rented out a theater, and we're going to be bringing a couple of listeners to the podcast and this show. It's a client appreciation, so most of it's going to be my past clients, but I'm going to be bringing a couple of listeners too. So get over to Facebook so you can get details on that contest. Facebook.com/Shane Willis, the Realtor. It's Thursday. It's almost the weekend. Have a great